Welcome back to another episode on Connie Celica, my 1977 Toyota Celica. Finally on the dyno. It means we're going to hear Beamsy scream. We're going to watch Sasha from OnPoint Dyno work his magic on the keyboard. We are here at Touge Tuning in Mississauga with our buddy Sasha from OnPoint Dyno. He's tuned some Beams motors before with an ITB setup like we have, the 20 valve ITBs. So he's got a bass map that's going to be very close. But we do have some small fine tuning things to do, like getting the idle sorted out. He doesn't want to idle cold. We're going to make some adjustments to the throttle positions right now to try to get it idle a little better. And then Sasha will start the fine tuning process.
We have to manually raise the idle too.
We do. So we're going to cheat it a bit by tightening the throttle cable until we can get to the idler screw, which is kind of buried beneath the fuel rail on this setup. So we'll sort that out later, but for now we're going to cheat it a bit with the throttle cable trim. So Sasha's already tightened up the throttle cable a bit, and it's idling at 1100. It's a little on the high side, but frankly I don't mind if it's idling.
There's no real way to get it to idle properly when it's cold and hot because of the ITB setup, right?
Yeah, and we don't have an idle air control valve on the setup. It's kind of appropriate for our old-fashioned car.
Exactly.
And something is rattling up here. I think it's the front grille.
I think it might be everything.
Headlight bucket.
Yeah.
It's loose, so I'll have to tighten that screw up. That's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, there's some tightening of screws that need to happen around here. Here, what did you do to get her to idle nice?
Yeah, so we've got an adaptive ignition setup, so when it's hot, it'll retard the ignition timing.
Yeah.
We want to be careful here because if we go too far, we can start overheating the header.
Okay.
It'll be glowing red hot at idle.
Oh wow.
So we kind of limit how low we'll go with the timing.
Okay.
And then we'll raise the idle to whatever you're willing to accept, so 1,000 RPM in this case.
Okay.
And this way when the engine's cold, we'll have our best chance to have it run.
Staying alive, yeah.
So we'll have lots of ignition time when it's cold.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be able to run at least 800 RPM or so.
Well, it's idling nice now.
Yeah, when it's hot it'll be really nice.
Yeah. Great. So what's next?
Tune time.
Tune time.
Tune time.
Woohoo! So far you've been doing a lot of steady state tuning where you're holding it at a specific RPM.
Yep.
And you're adding load with the throttle, I guess?
Yeah, so the dyno will hold a certain RPM, whatever I tell it to. And as we add more throttle, add more power, the dyno will absorb that and keep it at the same RPM. And this allows me to just stay in one axis location on the map.
Yeah. Is this for fuel strictly, or are you also looking at ignition timing at the same time? Or?
Yeah, we'll do both.
You do both?
At the same time, yeah. I mean, with individual throttle bodies, you really need to characterize how much air is flowing through those throttles.
Yeah.
And they don't change in a very linear fashion. So you really need to go through every cell to map the ECU properly.
Which raises a good point. We're primarily tuning off a TPS, right? Mm-hmm. We do have a map there, but really it's not going to be used a whole lot.
It's not a very strong signal.
Right.
So generally with individual throttle bodies, we tune the throttle position as the primary.
Right. Excellent. All right, we'll let you get back to it. I almost heard a semi-full pull there.
Got to 6,000.
We're getting close. That was only 6,000?
Yeah.
Man, it's going to sound good at 8.
Yes, it is.
Let's get there.
Okay.
Sasha's done working its magic with the Link ECU, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the power curve is looking pretty fat. It's got a nice broad torque curve, made a peak of what, 153 foot-pounds, and peak horsepower of 181. But look at all that usable power on the top. It looks like it's going to be a pretty fun motor to rip.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my Z a bit. These ITBs give it a nice little shot of torque before you get up through the RPM.
You think that's the ITBs that do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
And what do you think about the sort of waviness to the torque curve? Is that...
Yeah, so some of the other beams cars I've tuned don't have these two really pronounced dips. We were able to clean up the bottom one a fair bit. It was about twice as deep before, just with some cam timing. Yeah, so that's just something going on either with the header, or I don't think it's the throttles, because it's the same throttles as I've tuned before, so it's probably the exhaust system.
The Link ECU, it's something that you're quite familiar with. You've done a lot of tuning with it.
Yep.
It's a good tool. You're a fan of these ECUs?
Yeah, we really like Link ECUs. I mean, Link has some really great plug-in ECUs, so sometimes they're really great.
Yeah, in fact, Link makes a plug-in for this beams motor. We're using the Fury, by the way, which is sort of like a motorsports grade ECU, so it comes with a bunch of features that we're not really using yet because it's such a sort of a basic setup, but it's
we're using a fair bit. We've got knock control, dual cam control, internal lambda, closed loop fuel, like...
We're not using like anti-lag or launch control or any of that fancy stuff. But if you're looking for those features in a motorsports ECU, this isn't a bad direction to go in. And thank you, sir. Appreciate all your hard work. She sounds awfully good. I'm looking forward to getting her out in the wild.
Good. Yeah.
And if you're not afraid of dying in this death trap, you're welcome to come for a rip sometime.
You mean as in I drive it?
Yeah, as in you drive it.
All right, let's do it.
You into it?
I'm definitely
Are you?
into it. Oh, yeah.
See, he let me drive his Tesla. I got to let him drive Celica here.
All right, we are here at NV Auto for an alignment before we go to the racetrack, and Nam has been discovering some interesting things. First of all, you can see we had to remove the front fender flares to get the alignment things onto the wheels. What is the technical word? Heads, alignment heads on here. So Nam also found a lot of slop in the steering wheel, which we have pinpointed to some user error issues.
Some user error, some things that you get in check before you guys do the final bolt check. Looks like the nut for the steering wheel, for the steering column was completely loose, hand tight. And some of the screws on the hub for the removable steering wheel hubs were loose as well. And now we're gonna try to fix the steering slop in the steering column.
Right, yeah, I'll show you guys what that's all about right now. So as you can see, as Nam moves the steering wheel, the bottom of the column is moving left and right, and the intermediate shaft is not moving in the rack. And that means there's a lot of slop at the steering wheel. And that's because that intermediate shaft is just a little small for the column portion that it inserts into. So we're gonna tack that up basically for now, and then maybe put a set screw in it later, but we thought, you guys like Vin so much, let's get him in here. Fix my problems, buddy. Easiest job in the world?
Top 10.
Nam's starting with some camber. He's actually just loosening off the top hats here. You're thinking you're going to do most of the camber adjustability with a lower control arm?
Yeah, it looks like the top hat's already maxed for negative camber. Like you want it 3 degrees. And it's already at like 1.4, so we're gonna have to adjust everything at the lower control arm.
Yeah.
I'm just setting these now so we do fine tuning at the top when we get closer to the end of the alignment.
Makes sense. Nam is just back here on the rear axle adjusting our white line lower arms. Seems like we had the axle slightly out of square to the chassis, so we're just adjusting these arms to kind of square the axle up, which is evening out the rear toe nicely. Moving on to the front here, Nam's adjusting these Touge Tuning lower control arms. How's it going, sir?
Getting there. The only problem with this stuff is they're all different sizes.
Yeah, the nuts are all different sizes, aren't they?
Like these.
Look at this, everyone. Nam's got it dialed in. And you're telling me that Connie's a sensitive girl.
Yeah, it's like a liberal snowflake.
You need to give her a gentle touch to get the alignment just right.
I was trying to hold my sneezes as I was aligning. If not, it'd be all over the place. But it's all good now. We'll see how it goes when you're driving on the track tomorrow.
I'll go smash some curbs and see if this alignment moves or not.
Oh, it'll move.
With all the anti-seize Moose has in there, it's gonna move for sure.
Did you hear that, Moose?
Too much anti-seize Moose.
Too much anti-seize, buddy. It's time for a proper road test, because when you get an alignment done, the shop should really do a proper road test, right?
Aye, aye, aye.
Oh man, Connie in the wild. There she goes. There goes my girl.
good, you know? It looks pretty quick though. It's giving a little gas. Looks like we had a little rubbage there.
Yeah, slight rubbage.
That's why we do road tests.
Yeah.
So, what'd you think?
It's a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be.
I saw you trip the tires pretty good in second gear there.
I put into second gently and then got in the throttle and I was like, oh.
It didn't catch on fire.
Didn't catch on fire. We made it here.
You didn't get arrested.
No.
That's a win.
Yeah, it's all good. It felt quite good.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's trim some fenders and then I'm going for a street drive.
Never mind that. Track.
Well, we busted out the Dremel and did some grinding here on the front edge of these fender flares to give us some room so that they're not rubbing anymore. We also pulled out the 5mm spacers that we had in the front, which were obviously widening the track a bit. We picked up that rubbing because when Nam did the alignment, he added camber from the lower control arms, which widened the front track. And we had so little room to begin with that we were rubbing on these flares. We always knew we were going to be running into potential problems with these flares because Matt Panic and others who've run these told us as much. But it looks like we're going to fit with a little bit of clearancing here and without those 5mm spacers on there. So that's a win. In any case, the next time you see this thing, it's going to be at the racetrack. We're going to be doing figure 8s on the skid pad. Not to show off and do skids, but to break in that Tomei LSD. Once that thing's broken in, I'm going to take it out and do some warmish laps. I wouldn't call them hot laps. I really just want to shake the car down and see how the car feels, see if there's any big problems that we need to sort out. I mean, if the car runs great, I'll go from warm to hot, I suppose, but let's cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, thank you very much for all the support. I've been getting a ton of positive messages on social media and on our website about this car finally being running and driving, so thank you very much for that. And if you want to lend us a little extra support, be sure to check out our Patreon page and head over to speedacademy.shop if you want some hats, t-shirts, or even some Go Fast parts.